love wiffle ball. No other way to explain it. Just something about the game. The feel of the grass. Smacking that ball all over the field. Making plays. Diving head first, whatever it takes to get the job done. That's what wiffle ball means to me. Striking out grown men. Watching their knees buckle on a called third strike. Sit out, bud. And then, of course, the home runs. The base hits. The big home runs at the big moments. That's a whiff of greatness. Join us all season long for the Joe Aguirre story, a CMG podcast.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Posting Up podcast back here on this wonderful Saturday. As always, Big Jason, Isaiah joining us here. And from a couple weeks ago, Chris is back for an NBA trade deadline recap. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, boys. Jace, Zay, how we doing? I know, Zay, you said you weren't feeling too hot.
Not feeling the greatest, but I'm here. Here for the home team.
Very
nice. It's your flu game. Jordan did it. You can do it.
Very nice. Wasting no time here. NBA trade deadline was the biggest it's been in years. I think ever, actually. 46 players were dealt on a record-breaking day. 23 teams made deals. Chris, since you're our guest, we'll start with you. Which one of these deals stands out to you the most? What deal do you think is going to make the most impact down the stretch?
I think Aaron Gordon going to the Nuggets is probably going to make the biggest impact. I think that the Nuggets have looked good. Jokic he's my front runner for MVP right now. I think one of the biggest things that was holding them back, though, at this point in the season is that hole that Jeremy Grant left, that just athletic four that can defend multiple positions, make up for what Jokic can't do defensively, run the floor and finish, but also be able to stretch the floor and shoot. I think Aaron Gordon is going to fit into that role perfectly. And Gary Harris also, too. He wasn't really doing too much for them. They have enough wing depth to be able to get through it. And I think they have a slot open on their team, if I'm not mistaken, for the buyout market. So I think the Nuggets, this trade makes the Nuggets a lot better. And I think they got Aaron Gordon at a really solid value as well.
Isaiah, what trade do you think made the most or is going to make the most impact down the stretch?
I think the Bulls, actually. I think when they excuse me, I think trading for Vucevic was a huge move for them. I think that really makes their team really competitive in a very competitive East. You add him with Kobe White, Zach LaVine, marketing players like that. They're going to be a really tough team to beat, or at least give some team a tough 4 games in the playoffs so they can make that playoff push. But I think that move right there was huge for the Bulls. It makes them relevant again.
Yeah, the Bulls, with the play-in this year, everything's different. So you never know if they could squeeze in and then give a team towards the top, whether hopefully it wouldn't be the 76ers or the Bucks or the Nets or something like that. Give them a tough first round, kind of tire them out. I always mention, a lot of these teams down towards the bottom of the standings aren't always going to make that aren't always going to make that championship run, but they can certainly play a role in tiring a lot of these top teams out. Jace, you got a trade that stood out to you that happened on Thursday?
The one, it didn't make. I don't think it's going to make that big of an impact. But the one that stood out to me the most was Rondo and Lou Williams, that trade, because I'm still scratching my head over what did the Clippers see? Like, I guess I can understand like Philly doing something like that because of the Doc Rivers thing. But what do the Clippers got? Like, I don't see what they see in Rondo and how that's going to benefit them in the long run, especially like Lou Williams. He's a former 6th man of the year. Like, he's a solid player. And 2 future, I know they're 2nd-round picks, but still, that's still assets for Rondo. Like, I'm still scratching my head, and I don't know if that's going to pay off for them or not.
You know, and that was the trade I was going to do, but for a completely opposite reason. While Rondo, you know, the stats don't jump out at you, you know, 4 points a game, 3.5 assists. I think the role he played in the Lakers championship run last season is something you really can't put on a box score. And that's something that you saw the Clippers get bounced in the 2nd round last year. I think they lacked certain discipline, you know, down the stretch. They didn't really know how to close out games. I think having a game manager like Rajon Rondo in there is going to be a good thing for them. While I don't believe getting rid of Lou Will was the right way to go about acquiring Rajon Rondo, I don't think it'll hurt them as much as a lot of people are thinking it will. I think Rajon Rondo is I don't know how to put this. He's a leader, and I think that's what the Clippers need. I mean, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George obviously are 2 very good basketball players, but Pat Beverly isn't the best in my book. So I think Rajon Rondo is really going to help them down the stretch in those playoffs.
Yeah, it gives them that pure point guard that they actually need, that they've been looking for. I think you lose the points there when you trade Lou Will, but between Leonard and Paul George, you should be able to make up enough points. So I don't think it should hurt them that bad. I agree with you. I think the addition of Rondo would actually make this team better as opposed to hurting them.
Yeah, I think they had enough wing depth to be able to part with Lou Will, and like Zay just said, like they needed that true point guard. I remember we were talking about it last time I was on the pod, and we were talking about how Bradley Beal might go there. And I was just saying I think they needed a guy like Lonzo or like Eric Bledsoe, maybe not Eric Bledsoe, but just like a true point guard to be able to facilitate that offense. And I think Rondo's going to do a good job. But I do agree with you, Jace, that it makes me want to scratch my head a little bit just because of the like how much they gave up in order to get him. Because I thought Rondo would be dirt cheap at the trade deadline. Like he hasn't worked out for the Hawks. Like he hasn't been doing anything for their team. And Lou Will, he's got value. I mean, he's still putting up points.
Yeah, Lou Williams is a very talented player, and while he might not have the greatest impact on the Hawks because they're not that team that's going to make that playoff push this year. They're still a year or 2 away from their full potential breaking out, and they still don't know what they're going to do with what's his face down there, John Collins. Yeah. So I don't think they should trade him, but I guess things just aren't working out. Obviously, they have players like Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu, who I think is a very up on the rise, especially on the defensive end.
He's a real talented player.
Yeah, I think that he can make a major difference for that team if given the chance. So I'd say if they were the Hawks, it's not working out down there. Get what you can for John Collins because I think you get a pretty sweet package for him. He had a great game last night. I saw that. And then I want to throw another question in here before we go to our game break. I want to know, I know Jake said that the Rondo trade didn't really make sense to him. So I'll start with you, Isaiah. What trade did you see that really did not make a lot of sense to you on Thursday?
I'm going to save that for our next topic. You could skip me. I think that falls along our next topic. So
all right. I'd
rather not be repetitive.
I'll save that for you. Talking about the Knicks. Chris, any moves you saw that didn't make too much sense to you?
I'm going to be honest. The Vucevic trade just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, if I'm the Bulls and, like, I have Patrick Williams and I have Kobe White. Lauri Markkanen, I don't really see a great future with. Unless if they think so, then great, bring them back in restricted free agency. But they're not that competitive right now, and there is a chance that they don't make the playoffs. So they potentially just gave up a lottery pick, a talented young player in Wendell Carter, another future first-round pick, And who else did they give up in that trade? It wasn't. I don't think it was anyone too important.
Otto Porter.
Oh, Otto Porter, who was a cheap rental. So they give up Wendell Carter, a young asset, and then 2 future first-round picks for a guy who's going to be on the wrong side of 30. And don't get me wrong, Vucevic is an extremely talented player. He's an all-star. I think he's a star in this league. But I just don't think giving up future draft assets for someone who's not going to make you that competitive in the Eastern Conference is worth it. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in tanking. And I think they should have gotten rid of Zach LaVine at the deadline. If they could have, the price tag would have been extremely high, and they got to hit the reset button. We'll see what happens, though. I could be wrong, but that trade just made me think. I'm like, I don't know, like, what the Bulls are doing. I don't know how competitive they think they can really be.
Yeah, and I think that the Vucevic, where he should have gone, is a situation where the team is ready to win now. I think he's the type of player, like you said, Chris. He's approaching the wrong end of 30, and like you said, he's a very talented player. He's extremely talented. He's made his first 2 All-Star games these past 2 seasons, and I just think that he could have went somewhere that made more of an impact. God, you never know. He could prove us wrong. He can make us sound like a bunch of idiots. And
yeah, if they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, then I guess I'm wrong, but I just don't see it happening.
The truth is, you never know in anything, really, in life. So I guess that's we'll just leave that up to fate and see what happens there.
I think it actually works. I do not like that. I like the idea of him going there. I think when you have a year when you have, like you said, you have a plan. I think you got to give everything a chance, and give your fan base something to look forward to. I guess the team hasn't been great in years since like the Derrick Rose years, so give them something to look forward to. Maybe they make that push to that play-in, and maybe they get into the playoffs. But I think it's worth the shot. I mean, if you don't have a plan, you got to take a shot. You got to do something. So if it works, that works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, it works. What can we do?
Yeah, no, that's
that's
definitely true from the fan point of view.
They gotta keep the fan base happy.
Yeah, they gotta have something to look forward to. So
it made more sense to me than Victor Oladipo going to Miami. I just don't see that.
Oh, I love that trade.
I didn't like that at all. I thought Victor Oladipo doesn't fit the play style down there, but I hope it works out.
Chris, now that you bring that up, tell me why you like that trade so much.
I really like that trade to Miami because when you really think about it, they didn't give up much at all. Like they gave up Kelly Olynyk, and losing Kelly Olynyk isn't going to hurt at all if they get LaMarcus Aldridge in buyout or in after the buyout, which I think will happen. He's been heavily linked there, and just think about you say he doesn't really fit Miami's MO, and I think it's quite the opposite. No disrespect, I think Miami loves guys who are like gym rats, athletic freaks, who can play really solid defense. And he's another facilitator for him. He's not like a true point guard. He's not a point guard, but he can bring the ball up the floor and he can facilitate an offense. He did it in Indiana. He did it a little bit in OKC, and he did it in Orlando when he was there. So I think it's going to work out really good. They needed another bucket. Although Bradley Beal would have been amazing, if you get Victor Oladipo for draft pick swaps, they basically stole him. You know what I mean? I think he's going to help them a lot down the stretch too. Think of their endgame lineup. You can put Dragic or Hero with Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, Bam, and then I'm going to say LaMarcus Aldridge because I think he's going to be at Miami Heat by the end of next week. But that's a tough team to beat.
Huge prediction. It's a huge prediction.
Jace, obviously Chris and Zay are kind of split on this, so I kind of want to get you to break the tie somewhat here. What do you think of Oladipo's move to Miami?
I'm more so on Chris's side. I don't know, but I feel I like it. I like it for Oladipo because he does have a lot of injury history and they do have a lot of depth at that wing. So, at that position. So he won't be too stressed to play a ton of minutes, obviously. And I like the point Chris made. I like that point. He was kind of like a point guard in Orlando, and he did kind of bring that facilitation. And but that is the one thing I wish Miami would have gone out and got like a Kyle Lowry, because I think that might have benefited them a little bit better. But I'm not mad at it. I like it, but I think they could have done better.
Who's explaining that to Gorgon Dragic that they're bringing in Kyle Lowry?
Oh, Dragic would be gone. He'd be in that trade. He'd have to be.
That's true.
For money reasons, there's no other way to get it done.
Really, he carries a heavy price tag. I don't know.
That is true. So we'll get to our first game break. Tell you guys some games we're looking forward to coming up on the NBA schedule before we get back into some trade deadline talk. But we'll run you guys an ad from Clovercrest Media first.
Looking for a casual baseball podcast to listen to? Well, Baseball with the Bard, presented by Clovercrest Media, has just what you're looking for. Tyler Bard and Noah Cross cover a wide range of happenings in the MLB and then dive into a deep focus on the Red Sox and Yankees. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your weekly dose of Baseball with the Bard.
All right, so NBA basketball outside of the trade deadline and the All-Star game, I feel like that's all we've talked about recently, is still happening. So, Jace, I'm going to start with you. You got a game coming up soon that you're looking forward to watching?
All right. Thank you very much for starting with me, because then this one makes it easy. I'm going to go Milwaukee and the Clippers. I love seeing – I like seeing – I think the Clippers match up very well with Milwaukee because they can – I feel like they are the best suited to stop Giannis, because you can throw both Kawhi and Paul George on him to just show him different mixes, different looks, and have him figure that out. But and I'm excited to see them go at it. I know you talk about it all the time, Lucas. When across divisions. Across conferences, they only play twice a year, so it's it's always an interesting matchup when they do meet. So I'm very, very intrigued to see that go down on NBA TV. But Zay, what game are you looking forward to?
Probably gonna be a little biased here. Actually, outside of the 76ers Clippers game, I am interested in seeing the Knicks play this Milwaukee Bucks tonight. The Knicks actually have been playing the top teams in the East the last couple of games. They played the 76ers twice, and they played the Brooklyn Nets, and they came down to the wire each game. So I'm interested to see how they do against Milwaukee, who was another top team. The last time they played them, Milwaukee ended up running them out the building. So I'm interested to see how they do tonight against them with, a couple of tough games under their belt, see how they do in this game. Who you got, Chris?
I was going to say the same game as you. I'm really looking forward to the Philly Clippers game. I'm really excited to see just how the Clippers are able to handle the Sixers, and I'm really excited to see how the Sixers can really play against a competitive team without Embiid. But looking a little bit into the future, I'm really excited. April 6th on Tuesday, my Celtics are going up against Lucas's Sixers, and I'm really excited to see that game because both rosters are going to be complete after like buyouts and trade deadline and everything, and I'm really excited for that matchup.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think Joel Embiid will be back for that game. So
I hope not.
From the basketball analyst side of myself, I'd like to see how the Celtics differ in a game plan against the Sixers without Joel Embiid in the lineup. Obviously, he's absolutely killed you guys all year in the two matchups. Yeah. He's scoring 40 points a game. So I think that
team enjoys it, but
yeah, I mean, I think that'd be that's a great matchup. Like I said, I'm excited to see the different looks that the Celtics give the Sixers because in the past two matchups with Embiid, it's just been domination. And but the game I'm looking forward to, I'm glad we're all looking forward to watching some 76ers basketball. So My game is on Tuesday. The Sixers are still on their road trip. They'll be taking on the Denver Nuggets. Hopefully, Aaron Gordon will be making his debut by then. I'd like to see that. I think that if I had to make an honest guess for that game, I think the Nuggets are probably going to steamroll us without Joel Embiid. I think what was I going to say? I think that Jokic is going to have a field day without Joel Embiid in the lineup, and I just think that he's going to dominate us, and
especially if Gordon's playing too.
Yeah. Especially if Gordon's playing. But like I said, you never know. Sixers are 8-1 without Joel Embiid, which is fantastic. I think that's great. But like Chris said, it's gonna be interesting to see the Sixers start to play some more competitive teams towards the top of the standings in the NBA. So that will be interesting to see. Getting into our next topic, and Isaiah, I know you were laughing about this before. I'm a Sixers fan. Chris is a Celtics fan. And Isaiah is a Knicks fan. I don't believe the Jazz made any moves, did they, Jace?
Matt Thomas, whoever the hell that is.
Hey,
just I was gonna say, just another 3-point shooter for you guys. With all the 3-point shooters you have, Isaiah. I just seeing your face last segment. I got to start with you. What are your takes on the Knicks trade deadline day moves?
I felt like if the Knicks weren't going to make a move to improve the team, I don't think they should have made a move. I feel like I like the team the way it was. I feel like making that trade didn't benefit us, and I feel like we gave away someone who's actually a pretty good player. He doesn't get much time on the court, obviously, because our coach keeps such a tight-knit lineup that he runs. But I do believe that Ingas Brazingis is a very good shooter. He was averaging about 20 points in the D League. He's a really good defender, and I just think he's someone who needed time to play. So I think trading him to the 76ers made him better, and I think we didn't improve at all from the trade. So it really bugged me. I just think it was a move the Knicks shouldn't have made. I think if they weren't going to make a move for Lonzo, I think they should have just stayed as is and kept moving forward with the team. But at this point, I guess it is what it is. We lost, a really good future player, in my opinion.
Chris, why don't you tell me about? I know you have some opinions on this too. Why don't you tell me about your Celtics look on the trade deadline?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to touch on the Knicks real quick. I agree with Zay. That's a tough player to give up. But one thing I will say, the fact that they didn't go all in because the Knicks, like I think Bulls should have done, I think they prioritized their future more than right now because they do have a bright future with Mitchell Robinson, Emmanuel Quick, Obi Toppin, and even Julius still young. Back to the Celtics. I wasn't when I first heard the news about getting Evan Fournier, I was pretty angry because that's $17 million. We had the biggest trade exception of all time in $28.5 million. And with that, I was really hoping to be able to get a star player, a star center like Vucevic, or even a guy like Miles Turner, who's really going to help our team succeed. Someone who can play the 5, who's actually 7 feet, get rebounds, block shots, and even knock down shots. Evan Fournier is definitely going to help. If we don't bring him back in free agency this year, it's really going to hurt because we're going to let him walk for nothing. But from a value standpoint, for only 2 second-round picks, it's a great trade. It's a really good trade. I'm happy that we did get some wing depth, but I will say losing Daniel Tice is tough. I know why we had to do it. We needed to get under the luxury tax, but losing Daniel Tice is going to be tough. He's someone who is really vital to our team. He can defend multiple positions. He does get dunked on sometimes, but he's a solid player. You know what I mean? He's been stretching the floor really well this year. He's been defending well, and I just don't know what Mo Wagner's going to do for our team. I really don't. But, Jace, what did you think of the Jazz?
Oh, well, I already said I don't give a crap about the Jazz, what they did. But actually, I do want to piggyback off your Celtics because I do like that Mo Wagner trade a lot. I like how young the Celtics are. Like, they have some solid – they have really good young pieces like we've seen with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but also around them, They have some solid pieces that I think can develop to be excellent role players. So I see in the future, I think the future is very, very bright for the Celtics. And if they can keep these young guys, I think they just need like a superstar. And they can be a legit threat. What's wrong with that, Zach? You're muted, first off.
Jason Tatum to you is not a superstar, guys.
No, like
they
not yet. Not a legit superstar.
They need a big man. They didn't go out and get a big man. This team needs a big man. They haven't had a good big man since Kevin Garnett. They need another good big man. It's horrible what they have. I'm lying, actually. I think they had what you call it last year from was it Al Horford?
Al Horford, yeah.
Yeah, they had Al Horford last year. So they need a big man. They haven't replaced Al Horford. They need the big man. They have their star player. It's Jason Tatum. It's Jaylen Brown. They just need a big man. It's simple as that. They didn't go out and do their job, and their team is going to suffer for it. It's you can't compete against teams in the East. Yeah. You talk about Philly they have Embiid. The Knicks have excuse me. Oh my God, why is my brain doing this to me? Mitchell Robinson. These are certified big men. You need big men in this league. You're not going to
wait. You can't put Mitchell Robinson and Joel Embiid in the same breath, brother.
Why not?
I'm sorry.
Why can't I not?
Because Joel Embiid's an actual MVP candidate. Mitchell Robinson is
coming off of injury, and he's still playing some of the best ball he's ever played. Stop it. Mitchell Robinson, didn't he lead the league last year?
Solid.
Field goal percentage last year. He's a solid big man. He led the league in blocks, I believe, also last year too. Don't disrespect my man. Don't disrespect.
Don't disrespect Lucas's man.
He doesn't get to
Joel Embiid in the same sentence.
He's young. That's what happens. You don't get the respect in the league until you become an all-star. Julius Randle wasn't getting the calls he's getting now. He wasn't getting in the beginning of the season. It wasn't until he became an all-star caliber player that he's getting all these calls. It doesn't, once Mitchell Robinson turns that corner, he'll get those calls too. Maybe he'll be an MVP candidate. But don't disrespect Mitchell Robinson. Come on.
You're going good until you said Mitchell Robinson's about to be MVP candidate one day. I was with you, man. Bro.
Optimism, bro. I got to be optimistic.
There's no doubt in player. He needs to develop an offensive game to be able to be in that competition. He needs to be his own shot. Because at this point, he's a lob finisher, a solid defender.
Yeah, no. All jokes aside, I do believe he is a solid player, and I do believe he will be an all-star caliber player, not a superstar or an MVP caliber player. But for the Celtics, they need a big man if they want to compete. Every team in the league has a big man, whether it's Bam Adebayo or Joel Embiid. You need a big man to compete in this league. Anthony Davis in the West, you need a big man.
No, that's 100% right. The big man's so important. I was giving all the Celtics fans, including Chris, the business on Thursday for not acquiring a big man. What was I going to say? Oh, the Sixers, right, and their trade deadline. So, believe it or not, I'm kind of happy with the acquisition of George Hill. I think we gave up, basically nothing for him. He's a solid role player, solid veteran. He's a good three-point shooter. And then on the Kyle Lowry front, I know we were sort of, running the headline for that with the Lakers and the Heat. But at the end of the day, I'm happy we held on to our pieces. Because to be honest, we're 32 and 13 right now. I don't think we needed to make any drastic changes to the lineup, anything to kind of stir up the chemistry we got going on. I think we're in a good place. Will it come back to bite us later in the season? That's only for us to find out later in the season. So I like the move for George Hill. I like keeping all of our guys kind of close-knit. So that's my take on the Sixers trade deadline. And like you said, Jace, there really was nothing for you, so you touched on everyone's team there. But
that's a good thing. It's a good thing. If your team doesn't make a move, that's a good thing.
Right. All right. We're gonna get.
You don't need to make a move when you're doing this well.
That's true.
All right,
That's true.
chemistry.
All right, pump the brakes.
Hey, best in the East. Let's go. Anyways, and me and Jace look at us at the top of the screen because our teams are at the top of their conferences.
Oh, we're gonna need to
go.
switch that next time I'm on. That's
I
what
can't
y'all said
wait
that.
to the second round of playoffs and both your teams aren't in it. I can't wait. I seriously can't wait.
All right. We'll get right into our third topic of the day. There will be no second game break today. And then after this ad from Clovercrest Media, we'll get right into our third topic.
The Cross'em Wrestling Entertainment Podcast, presented by Clovercrest Media, is what you AEW fans have been looking for. Noah Cross and Tyler Bard give their take on every week's episode of Dynamite. If you are a massive AEW fan, then it is time to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Stay Cross'em.
All right, so nothing really going on too much. We usually cover some injuries during our second game break. Only real injuries going on are ones we already know about: LeBron James, Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis. Obviously, a problem being out for their teams, but nothing too big to cover. We know the story with that, so we'll get right into our third topic here. On the buyout market, there are two huge names. One of them being Andre Drummond and one of them being Lamarcus Aldridge. Chris talked a little bit about Aldridge earlier in the show. Chris, I'll start with you here. I know you've mentioned the heat for Lamarcus Aldridge, so I'll just ask you about Andre Drummond. I know one place you'd want him to go. Realistically, where do you see Andre Drummond signing with?
I mean, realistically, I see two teams. I see the Lakers and I see the Celtics. Those have been the two teams that are the most linked to him. When it comes to the Lakers, with LeBron and AD being out, and the fact that they already have Trez and Marc Gasol, I don't see him getting the role that he would need to be able to make a biggest impact. I see, honestly, like being completely unbiased, a little biased, I see him going to the Celtics. He's going to be going closer to home. He's from Connecticut. He'd get a solid role, and he's going to fill an extreme void that, like Zay was talking about, we need a big man. We need somebody to rebound the ball. There's too many possessions we have where we're playing really good defense, and we just don't come away with the board. And because of that, that's why we're below 500 right now. And I really think that Andre Drummond is his best fit and where he would make the biggest impact would be with the Boston Celtics.
Nice. I mean, I'm not saying I don't agree with that. I think the Celtics definitely need a big man. It's just whether or not that they can actually pull off the deal to bring Andre Drummond in. I don't think necessarily it should be hard for them, but at the same time, some of the teams where it seems to make so much sense for a player to go to, they end up not going half the time. So we'll see what happens with that. Isaiah, two of these players, they're free agents now. Go Andre Drummond first, then go Lamarcus Aldridge. Where do you see these guys making the most impact?
I'm actually going to go in reverse because I think I'm going to break Chris's heart. But I'm going to go Lamarcus Aldridge. And honestly, I would love for Lamarcus Aldridge to play in Portland. I would love to see him go play in Portland. I think Damian Lillard needs that reliable big man. I think it's about time. I think CJ McCullough's been great for him, but he needs that guy that's going to get the big blocks, the rebounds, the extra possession for him. He needs that big time star big man, and I think Lamarcus Aldridge should be that guy for him. But obviously, I don't know how the finances is going to work out. I don't know where Lamarcus Aldridge's heart is. That's just where I would want to see him go. As far as Andre Drummond goes, it's going to sound biased. Hearing now, and this is just, and I'm hearing through the grapevine that it's possible that he might be with the Knicks for about a 4-year, $72 million deal. I'm hearing through the grapevine that because the Knicks have the money leverage that most teams don't. So I'm hearing that they're the front runners up to get him. I don't know if it's going to happen. Would I love to see it? Sure. I think, again, we'd have that superstar, all-star type of presence that we need. Well, I think Randall is becoming one. I think Drummond is already one, and I think he would definitely elevate our team. So, obviously, I hope it goes down. I hope that the tweets keep coming in that with all the positivity. But that's just my take on it. I'd love to see him there.
Zay, is this the same grapevine that you sent me, Lucas, and Sean saying that LaMarcus Aldridge
No, that was actually
gonna
that was a Facebook
start
post.
his first game for
That was a Facebook post that was circulating. I sent you guys what I saw on Facebook. I was like, I couldn't believe this. I was
Chris,
shocked.
we got a text. We got a text on I think it was last Friday or Saturday, saying that LaMarcus Aldridge was going to make his Nets debut on Sunday. So, and that didn't happen. So you never know who Isaiah.
Thank God it didn't. It was, thank God. But that's a real Twitter. That's not me. They're saying Knicks have the money leverage in the situation. That's all I'm hearing.
All right. Jace, start with whoever you want. Two guys here who obviously can make an impact for a playoff team. Where do you see them going and having the most impact?
All right. Since everyone's being biased, I'm gonna be a little biased as well. I would love to see LaMarcus Aldridge on the Jazz, because think about it. Him as the 4, you got Gobert, who's one of the best defensive, one of the best. What was the word? Best defensive centers in the league right now. But the problem is the problem with the Jazz are doing very well shooting, but they're not doing very well. They don't have that one post player. They don't have that guy they can kick it into and get a basket in the post. Derek Favors, he's all right at it. He's not the best, but I think LaMarcus Aldridge can give you that. And then when you do that, you can have guys collapsing on LaMarcus Aldridge, get guys open, make even more threes. So I think it works out very well. Is it going to happen? Probably not. I'd love to see it happen. It won't. But I'm saying it would work out, and he'd have a lot of success there. Andre Drummond, I would love to see him closer to home with the Celtics. I think that just makes sense. I mean, a little Andre Drummond story for you. I played AAU basketball against CBC, which was his team, and I got dunked on by him. Chris Dunn was the point guard who alley-ooped it to him. So that's my claim to fame with Andre Drummond. But no, it has to be the Celtics. Bro, I got dunked on by
the wall of shame.
Take that.
That's a claim on your wall of shame.
How many NBA players have you been dunked on, Zay?
None, and thank God.
All right,
but painful.
No, but I honestly think something crazy is going to happen, and one of these guys is going to end up on the Nets, to be quite honest with you.
I can see that happening.
Disgusting.
Yeah, me too. But
why not take the easy way out? Kevin Durant does it.
Oh, my God. So, obviously, Andre Drummond for me, it'll be stupid for the Celtics not to do everything they can to bring Andre Drummond in. I think they need to do everything in their power to make that happen. Obviously, that's not a clear-cut route to a championship if that's what he's chasing. And in that case, I believe if that's his mindset, he'll sign with either Brooklyn or the LA Lakers, which I'd hate to see. I love the parity in the league. And, just the basketball fan in me sees the Celtics needing a role filled and having a player who's a free agent that could easily fill that role to borderline elite level would kind of just make the basketball fan in me happy. Not the Sixers fan in me happy, but the basketball fan in me would certainly be relieved. And LaMarcus Aldridge, as far as he goes, I think he can make an impact anywhere he goes. I think he will sign with the Heat, but I think he can make an impact. Like Isaiah said, that's not being talked about. He can make an impact in Portland. Jace, you brought up the Jazz, and that's not, like you said, it's not going to happen, but I think that he would make a great fit in Utah. I think he's a kind of guy who not only a veteran leadership, but he still has that mid-range post game going on. So I think that he can make a significant impact anywhere he goes. I think with that being said, we are all set here on the show. Does anyone else have any closing statements? I know you guys have been full of opinions today.
No, we're all just talking because at the end of the day, they can both take pay cuts and go sign with the Nets.
That's true.
We never know. That would make it fun.
Clip for the league. It is clips for the whole league, man.
It's already clip for the whole league.
We still got hope.
Yeah, no, we do.
All right.
Get back.
Yeah. Oh boy, James Harden's playing out of his mind, huh?
But you know what happens? He'll get to the playoffs and he'll do what James Harden does in the playoffs and he'll disappear. And that's what they're hoping Kevin Durant and Kyrie will be back. That's why Kyrie's been on vacation the last couple of weeks. You notice when he got hurt on his birthday? Isn't that amazing? I'm playing that out crazy. I have my sick days on my birthday every year too, so I can't blame him. I cannot blame him.
Oh man. All right. With that being said, we'll wrap the show up here. Thanks to Chris for coming on. We'll definitely have you on again.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Always a great time.
Problem.
Come back. We need Celtics fans to beat on.
Oh man! Anytime.
Oh man! As always,
Mitchell Robinson being an all-star.
Oh.
You know what? He will be an all-star. I don't know about a superstar, but he'll be an all-star. And we'll have this conversation again.
As always, thank you, Jace, for doing you did your dual role today. You produced and gave your analyst. That's always appreciated. And Isaiah, as always, thank you. And shout out to Sean. Couldn't be here today. He had some things going on in his personal life. Nothing too serious. Just couldn't make the show when it wasn't going to be home in time. So we'll see you on Tuesday. We go live every Tuesday and Saturday. Tuesdays we go at 5. Saturdays we go at 1. Today we went at 2.
1:32-ish.
One of the two. You'll catch us twice a week.
Just like the page to stay up to date.
Right. Like the page. We post updates on there. And check out all the other great podcasts that Clovercrest has to offer. For Chris Pagano, King Zay, Big Jace, this has been Lucas Boldlook in the Posting Up Podcast.